Rolling. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Welcome to The Scoop with Chris and Whitney. I'm Whitney Reed, National Sales Manager at BPI.
And I'm Chris McKenzie, Senior VP at BPI Sports. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Coming into the Olympia hype, we're going to talk a lot of Olympia stuff, which is huge, in our world of fitness and bodybuilding. And the biggest thing we're bringing about the Olympia is we will have the first public interview from reigning Bikini Olympia champion Courtney King, who just this week announced on her social media that she will not be returning to defend her crown. So,
wow, huge news.
Yeah, it's actually like legitimately big news in our industry.
Yeah, how did we get it?
And Whitney and Chris and Whitney, whatever our show is, The Scoop, we got it.
We got the exclusive, so that'll be fun.
So listen, talking about the Olympia, let's just get to a little bit of the current hype. The thing that we are very excited about is our booth at the Olympia, correct?
Completely different than we've done before at the Olympia. Normally we go in with the huge, obnoxious booth with
too much space, too much product. It's a great time. I mean, we give great deals and everyone loves buying stuff there, but it's a lot of, it's just a lot. It's a lot of extravagance.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of manpower. A lot of people to keep up with.
So this year we're doing something really fan-centric to the bodybuilding fitness community, and we're having basically an athlete pavilion for all of BPI's sponsored athletes. And it's really ironic because we really got on the map not as an athlete brand. And as we grew, we realized the marketing opportunities that modern media could bring with a great set of athletes. And what we saw in the early days is the old model of, Weeder publications signing everybody didn't really go anywhere and it looked empty. But as social media came and people developed, direct lines of communications to their athletes, their favorite athletes, got pretty cool. So what do we got in store?
Yeah, it definitely changed. I mean, who was our first sponsored athlete? Can you remember?
Jay.
I mean, other than Jay being, an owner of Cutler.
Chris McKenzie.
Chris McKenzie was in all of our ads, and
then Whitney.
No, but we had a lot of guys that we knew that were in our ads, and it wasn't any.
It was all buddies.
Yeah, it was just friends of ours
who used the product because we hooked them up and wound up loving it, and
right.
became evangelists for the brand.
Right. So things have definitely changed over the past 4 or 5 years.
So who's going to be in our booth at the Olympia?
We've got a great list of athletes.
Oh, let me interrupt real quick. It's booth 1466. So if you're at the Olympia, they have the aisles numbered with banners that hang. We're probably going to be like, I would guess it means something like aisle 14 or row 6, something like that. But 1466.
You'll be able to find us because we'll have the longest line, I think, in the Olympia because Jay Cutler will be there, and that's always usually the biggest line in the show, and it lasts all day, and Jay always sticks around to make sure that he speaks to everybody that's waited for him to come see him at the booth. So that's always a lot of fun. But also we have Jose Raymond, who will be competing. Champion,
yep.
We've got out of the bikini class, we'll have Norman Asria. We'll have
also competing,
yep. And then who?
The other girl, Sarah,
Sheena Jane Martin competing. Mm-hmm. And then in the physique class, Logan Franklin will be at the booth. I know he's got a huge following, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of people there to see him.
Yep.
And
plenty more.
We've got Ainsley Rodriguez, who just joined the team about 2 weeks ago, I guess. And she's got a huge following. She's got, 1.5 million on Instagram, so I'm sure a lot of people will be there to see her. And then
bodybuilding's first couple.
Yeah,
Reagan and Victoria on episode 3 here. Great people with huge fan followings, both of them. And also excited to have one guy that I met a while back, Stephen Chow, who's got a great social media. He won one of the Jersey shows, the John Kemper Classic. I've mentioned who John was.
Is this his first trip to the Olympia? Have you asked him?
I didn't. I'm sure he's been there as a fan, but
I think so. He's young.
Probably his first trip, like as an athlete. I'm sure it's got to be exciting. And we want to have him on the show one of these days. He's, got a great competitor story, just a lot of passion and a lot of foot to the gas pedal.
This looks like a freak at 21.
Yeah, great physique.
Is that he's 21?
No, he's a little bit older now. So, but he's a great kid and he'll be out there. It'll be a lot of fun. So one question I would ask as we start looking towards the Olympia. I went to my first Olympia in 1997. It was the year that Ronnie Coleman won for the first time. He beat Flex Wheeler. I wasn't necessarily like that into bodybuilding, like I was into it.
Where was that show?
Madison Square Garden, New York. And
before it was in Vegas.
Yeah, so before it hit the Vegas thing, and the expo, I didn't even go to the expo because I kind of like saw it there and didn't know what it was. And
if you were allowed
yeah,
in.
I didn't know if I was allowed in. You know, I was like a peripheral fan to the sport, but it was really cool. And, you know, I went to the prejudging, so I sat there and saw it. But back in those days, you had about maybe 12 to at most 20 guys in the Olympia. And then there was a Miss Olympia, which was women's bodybuilding that had somewhere between like 8 and 15 competitors. And that was the show. So you had basically, what, maybe at most 40 competitors, more like 30.
Yeah.
So now, as the Olympia is growing, you know, we mentioned we have Courtney coming on in a little bit, Miss Bikini Olympia. There's Classic Physique entering the Olympia this year. There's the 212s where Jose hopefully will be able to come home with the gold. He's already won the Arnold a couple times. What else? Women's Physique Olympia. I mean, now there's about, what, like 5 classes of Olympians?
Right. Well, you've got men's physique, you have classic physique, you have women's physique. There's so many different...
Fitness, figure, bikini,
there's so
women's
many.
Physique, men 212, men's physique, and classic physique.
Wow.
So I just counted up 8 categories.
8 categories. And
so,
how many per category compete at the Olympia now?
I mean, men's physique, it seems like there's a ton. I don't know. Let's say that this is going to be is at least 150 Olympia competitors, probably more like 200.
Right.
So the one thing Whitney and I noticed about that is how does that impact our industry, not necessarily the sport of bodybuilding. The question is, and we're going to get into this later, this isn't for today, but is bodybuilding still the biggest draw to the Olympia? I believe it is. The real question is, what have all the other categories done? Have they added or diluted the sport? And I really think they've added. So
they definitely have added. I mean, you look at bodybuilding is still the king of the show, right? So I mean, that's what everybody's talking about, and everybody's going to go to the finals on Saturday night. But as far as the industry growing, you've brought such a wide range of people and physiques and different types of physiques to the show. And like we were talking about earlier, they're going to bring their family, they're going to bring their friends, they're going to bring their following.
Recruitment of athletes goes a long way. So figure everybody that competes brings at least 2 people to be like their handlers or their corner people. Probably bring about at least 5 or 10 good friends. And if they're doing their job as a professional athlete, they're probably having a pull-through of fans who come to see them. You know, if you are a pro athlete, you do need some sort of following. That's part of the game these days. So if every one of these people can bring an extra 20 to 40 people per person to the show, counting their fan base, it's going to be great and really keep our industry alive. So as much as we've joked about the excess amount of men's physique guys or the spike in sale of board shorts in recent years, I think it was a great idea to include all these people at the highest levels.
Absolutely, and that's what's made our industry grow, like we said. And then also, like we've mentioned before as well, the just fitness on social media is so huge. And if it wasn't for all of these different classes bringing the attention to our sport, who knows where things would be? I mean, I don't think that we would have a big show without, you know, men's bodybuilding.
Yeah.
But it would be a completely different world if we didn't have all of the social media aspect of.
So you guys know we're on Instagram Live. So what are we talking about here, real quick? Just
talking about the Olympia, the 2017 Olympia.
Specifically talking about just
the growth of new categories and how it affects our industry.
There we go.
You know, before we move away, the one point I would make about everybody being there, it is interesting to see how people's social media persona translates to real life.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember seeing, and I don't want to name any names, but one IFBB pro who has a really great social media. He was working for a brand, and he was standing in their booth with a line of 4 people. And I actually thought to myself, like, oh my God, this guy who seems like he's got, you know, the world at his fingertips really could only get 4 real people to give a shit about him.
That's right.
So, but then I've also been in a show where Joey Swole walked in and the entire show stopped to kind of pay him homage.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So some people translate.
It's definitely weird with the social. I mean, a lot of these guys on social media where they might have a ton of followers, 250, 300, whatever, 1 million followers. But if they show up at a fitness event
and no one gives a shit,
yeah, people don't know them.
Yeah, that's straight crazy.
So it's interesting to see that.
So listen, we got to get Courtney on the phone, but one quick question regarding the men's bodybuilding. There seems to be very little excitement around the show.
I have heard. I was actually talking to our friend Jay Cutler last night, and we both were talking about the fact that there's no hype behind the show. I haven't heard anything. I haven't read anything. you know, the past couple of years, there's been a story, whether it was last year with Kevin Lerone coming back to compete.
Something, yeah.
The year before that was the big battle with, or that was when Kai sat out the year before.
That was his first year sitting out, and the year before is when he kind of bumped elbows.
Yeah, so it's no hype leading up to the show.
So my question to you, Whitney, is, do you think that it's because Phil Heath is just like, you know, on autopilot, just going to cruise in and win, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. I don't think anybody sees Phil losing.
You know, another thing is Phil never like leaks out any pictures. You know what I mean? Like, Big Ramy, who's got a great kind of excitement about him. They're always like leaking pictures at the gym in Abu Dhabi or wherever they are.
And you always see that crazy physique before the show, right? So you see guys like Ramy or, you know, I've seen some others leak some photos out. I remember
Phil just shows up. And
he shows up and just blows everybody away. And those pictures that you see of these other competitors that they leak out before the show, they look great in the gym.
Yeah.
And then they get on stage and it's not quite the same. I mean, the lighting's not the same. And then you're standing next to Phil Heath, so you don't look as good.
And I mean, like, you know, in hip hop, they say like, ass so fat you can see it from the front.
Right.
That's Phil's triceps, man. I gotta be honest. I've been to the show many times. I mean, when this guy walks, if your triceps are so big that you see him from the front, I mean, it's fucking over. This guy's arms are like absolutely. Anyway, before we go, one other Olympia-related question, and this is one that super producer Big Dennis came up with. So if ever you want to feed him some questions, you can always hit him on the email, deniz@bpisports.net.
He'll be happy to take those emails.
But this question was, who do you think is the greatest bodybuilder with no Olympia crown?
I'm gonna go.
I know who you say.
I'm gonna go with Flex Wheeler. I think he had the greatest physique of like that era. Never won. I mean, obviously had to go up against Ronnie Coleman X number of years, so he really had no chance of winning. But I always like Flex Wheeler's physique over Ronnie Coleman.
And one storyline that doesn't seem to be getting that much excitement, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Flex Wheeler is competing in classic bodybuilding.
Yeah, classic. He's doing the classic division, which will be interesting. I saw a picture of him a couple weeks ago. He looks great. Tons of muscle.
Yeah, he's like 50 now too.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right.
And
he didn't get attacked by ninjas this year. If anybody
the
remembers
ninja story.
That story.
Those were the days. I would say probably Kevin DeHaven would be the best bodybuilder with no.
Shout out to our friend.
There we
Kevin
go.
DeHaven.
There you go, Kevin. Every week, brother.
KDCon on Instagram. Check him out.
So he's a trainer and a pretty great athlete. Greatest bodybuilder with no crown, in my opinion. I honestly don't know. There's so many good guys that never got there. It's like you kind of want to say Dexter Jackson. He actually did win it once.
He won it, yeah.
So you don't say him, but let's say this guy's been second like 800 times. He's won the Arnold, and he just keeps going. I'm always very impressed with him.
Man,
and
he looks better every year too. So.
And listen, I mean, one thing on a personal note, I've heard from him he's gotten kind of a bad rap for not being like the nicest guy when people meet him. I've met this guy maybe 20 times, and he's always been super cool. And they promote his show up here, and his girlfriend is, or I don't know, white, whatever they're related, but she's an angel. I mean, like, if anybody ever heard Dexter Jackson's not that great of a dude, I got to say, he's the nicest guy I've ever met.
Yeah, simply not true.
I mean, I bumped into him the morning before he competed at the Arnold.
Right.
And we sat and talked for like a minute or two, just bullshitting.
Right.
I mean, if you can be out of the zone then, you're a good dude in my book. Anyway, speaking of Olympia caliber athletes, reigning Bikini Olympia Courtney King is a BPI athlete, great competitor, just announced this week on her own social media that she will not be returning to compete. And I would say she actually didn't really announce it. What happened is the IFBB published the competitor list. There's a couple top athletes in that category now coming back, and she's one of them. So considering she's the reigning champion, her name not being on the list created quite a buzz, and she had to speak to it to her fan base. So.
All right, reigning Bikini Olympia Courtney King is with us. Good morning, Courtney.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're great. We appreciate you jumping on the call with us this morning.
Of course.
This is a scoop exclusive.
For my BPI guys.
Scoop exclusive. No, we appreciate that. So let's start it off.
We'll give you a chance. We'll just open the mic up to you. Obviously, you're not competing this year. I did watch your YouTube video announcing, but why don't you give us a quick recap of where you're at in your competitive journey to start off the conversation?
Yeah, so let's start with the Olympia, and it's been a question that I've gotten, asked back and forth from so many people because, I wasn't posting as much, and I wasn't maybe as active on Instagram or keeping up with like training or workouts. So I would get frequent direct messages from people, and they were like, "Hey, are you still competing? What's going on? We're not seeing anything." And I kept it on the down low, didn't really get back to a lot of people. And then, about 14 weeks out from the Olympia, I like to prep just kind of like slow and steady. So I don't like to kill myself during a prep. So I like to have a slow and steady prep. But I've been kind of experiencing some health stuff around the Arnold, the time of the Arnold. So come the Olympia, I had some downtime after the Arnold, and I wasn't good at all. That's when I was seeing different doctors and GI specialists and just really trying to figure out what was wrong with me. I had no motivation to train or I just didn't feel good.
No, hold on. Real quick here. Are you saying that this was around the Arnold time there or right after? Yes. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
So about the last 2 to 3 weeks of my Arnold prep, okay. I remember being on the treadmill and I was doing sprints with my friends. And I was a few rounds into the sprints, and I was like, "Hey, I gotta stop." And she's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I think I'm having like food come back up." I know TMI, kind of disgusting, in my throat, and I was just very uncomfortable. So I'm like, I gotta stop sprinting. And then, I still was prepping. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I was like, it's whatever. I don't know what's going on. So I just kind of brushed it off my shoulder, kept prepping. And then I remember, during the Arnold time, it was decent. I wasn't 100%. It was kind of iffy. And then I remember going to Bali after the Arnold, Australia, Hawaii, and I was there traveling in Bali just for a little 5-day vacation, eating some different foods, still healthy, but just eating differently than I guess hardcore competition diet.
Right.
And I was in so much pain. I remember being at restaurants with my boyfriend Steve, having to go to the bathroom, and I would just puke on food.
Oh.
And I didn't know what was going on at all. And it was. I'm like, oh, maybe it's because I'm not dieting as hard or I'm eating something different, so my body's just acting weird. I had no idea. And then I got home back in Arizona, and it just progressively got so much worse. And here I am now, and that's when I started my prep for the Olympia, and I was going, and you guys asked me earlier, since I'm a competitive person, how did I feel about pulling out? And I didn't want to pull out at first, and I had a talk with James, one of the co-owners of BPI, and I was like, I'm just going to go full force, do it. I want to do it. I want to defend my title, but it just got really bad, and I couldn't. I could not.
Yeah, and just to make note, I remember when you were in the office back. It was when was that? Was that April? I can't remember. It was after you did the Arnold. And after your vacation, you came here, and we sat in the kitchen, and you were actually telling me about some of these issues that you had been having, and
I remember what.
Yeah.
And you were kind of relating, and telling me different things, and it's crazy because when you actually don't feel good from within. I don't care what anyone says. You can push, but if the inside of you, obviously, if something is going wrong, internally, it's your body trying to tell you something. Hey, slow down, chill out, stop. And I'm someone that kind of all right, I'll listen later. But then you never really take. I guess what I'm trying to say is I kind of took my health for granted because I never thought anything of it until I started getting symptoms. And things started happening that had never happened before, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Hey,
Hey,
how old are you? If you don't know, I know you're never supposed to ask a woman her age, but I'm asking an athlete, so it's different.
Totally okay. I'm 23.
Okay,
I'm 23.
23. You are so young. And when did you start competing? In NPC shows.
Yeah. So I did my first show in 2011. And then I turned pro in 2012, did my first pro show, first Olympia in 2013. Then I took a year and a half off of competing in 2014. I didn't do anything at all, which is actually probably good. And then I came back in 2015 and then kind of just worked my way back up.
Yeah. Well, that honestly, that's like a meteoric rise to the top. So that's a whole, kind of side story we could go into. That's pretty.
Yeah, but
pretty
to be
awesome.
23 and you seem like you've been around forever. It's
I know. I feel I'm already retired.
Yeah. So listen, I have a question for you, a little competitive stuff. We'll give you a breather on your personal life for a minute. So, you know, when I look at the bikini category, I see there's kind of like three kinds of girls, and if I were to break it down. There's really curvy looking women with, you know, a lot of like contour to their body. There's some women that are still a little bit on the, you know, maybe harder, more muscular side. And then there's like a thinner looking kind of athlete. And I would put you in like that thinner looking category. Obviously, you still got. So do you think that your look is, when you won last year, do you feel like you redefined the expectation or the look for the category? Or you just think that you came in and edged out the competition? How do you feel like your physique impact that sport?
You know what? Honestly, it is so different for everyone. There are some women who, okay, so I am 23. Yes, I've been training for a little bit, but I might not have as much muscle maturity as someone, you know, like Angelica, for instance, who won the Arnold this year and who got second at the Olympia last year. She's, you know, kind of, she turned pro in figure. She has more muscle maturity. She's a harder look. You know, maybe it's because she's had obviously more years training. And then there's someone who's me, who I guess is, you know, taller. So my muscles, I feel, are longer, and I'm very tall. And then you have like India, who's very petite, but she's compact, but it works for her body. So it's the whole lineup. Everyone up in that Olympia lineup, you could take the top 6 girls and all comparison. Everyone's different, and that's the thing about bikini is, you know, everyone's always like, what are they looking for? What are they looking for? They don't know what they're looking for at all. Because, and I'm going to say that straight up because there'll be one show where someone will win and it's like, all right, I guess that's the look we're going for, and then be another show where that person will win. And it's like, okay, now we gotta bring that look.
Hey, that's a great answer. I mean, you don't know what you're looking for until you see it. That's probably how I would sum it up.
Totally agree.
The thing with bikini, you know, unlike bodybuilding and other, you know, men's physique where you have like these, I guess, you know, or, you know, mandatory poses, or they're looking for a V taper or whatever it may be. The thing with bikini is it's the overall package.
Yeah.
Everything from like, you know, your face to your heels, like everything, how you present yourself on stage, your hair, your makeup, your body language with the audience, the judges. It's overall.
So one more question about the sport. So yes, you mentioned India. She's not competing this year either.
Right.
So
no, I know. India's like, you know,
it's Whitney's fault.
Yeah, for a much different reason, as everyone knows.
India go way back, like to the beginning days. So I feel like it's kind of sad having some of those girls that I, you know, admired and looked up to in the sport, like India being one. I remember I had her all over like my vision board when I first started. Justine Monroe, different girls, Natalia Mello, that no longer compete or are stepping away for a little bit due to different reasons. But yeah, I feel like it's kind of a new group coming in, and that can be a good thing too.
So so you and India right there, that's 2 of last year's top 5. Why don't you just go ahead and tell us who are the top 3 to win it this year? Don't act like you haven't thought about it. You know.
Who else do I think is going to be up there? You know what's really sad, and I'm not going to lie, is half of the people I don't.
You don't know them.
I don't. There's so many. There's
I know.
so many now. I'm like, everyone's good. Everyone's great. There's some national level girls that have a body that looks like it could be on the Olympia stage. Everyone is like that elite now. It's just getting better and better, and the competition's, you know, great. Anything can happen at any show, but I think Angelica will take it this year, and then a few, obviously, of the girls who placed up in the Arnold, I think will also be up there. But some girls not competing like India or Justine Monroe that I think would, you know, obviously could take the title won't even be in the show. So kind of triples down the competition.
All the pressure's on Angelica.
Right, so yeah, Angelica, she better step up.
Can you bet on this show in Vegas?
Yeah.
What was it?
I said, can you place a bet in Vegas while you're there on who's going to win the
I
Olympia?
would.
The odds makers?
Cool.
I think that was
So,
I bet.
yeah, definitely.
one other question I think everyone likes to know, in a real quick nutshell, again, taking your current situation out, what's your training philosophy been? Are you a lot of cardio person? Are you an outdoor plyometrics? Are you like a bench, squat, lift, deadlift all day person?
You know what? Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of people who are so regimented about XYZ. I'm very go with the flow. That's how my training has always been. If it's Monday and it's supposed to be leg day, but my legs are still sore from like a Saturday workout or something, guess what? I'm not going to train legs on Monday. I am someone who listens to their body, and it's crazy because that's how I am with my food as well. You know, people always ask, well, how do you diet? What do you do? Do you carb cycles? Do you do low carbs? Do you do keto? Do you do high carbs? I do my own diet as far as like prepping for a show. And I'll literally get up, and I'm so in tune with my body now. I can look at myself and be like, I look, you know, a little flat. I'll have more of this today. I'll take a break from training this. I might add in more of this if I need this. So I'm someone who just listens to their body. Yeah, you know, I do cardio. I don't think I do a lot of cardio. Maybe like 30 minutes. I do a lot of hits. So I started incorporating. First, when I got into the sport, I did a ton of cardio. I was one of those girls who was like, 2 hours a day, all plyos, no carbs. That was my thing. And then 2015, I completely changed my philosophy of training and doing more like high-intense stuff, actually training like an athlete, not just like starving and withering away. I was, you know, doing more endurance-type training. I was doing cardio like pushing a sled, flipping tires, battle ropes, just different stuff that I would never train like that before.
Yeah, I think a lot of the girls at the beginning of this kind of got sucked into that phase of not eating and
Cardio
doing
bunny.
hours and
Yeah.
hours and hours of cardio, and it really did it did ruin a lot of physiques out there, and they struggled for years to correct that.
No, I remember even just way back when I used to live in Florida, and I would even train with India. We were those girls who did so much cardio, all plyos, no weight, didn't want to touch your legs because they're gonna get big. Like, it was just stupid. But
Right.
you know, and if you still train like that, I'm sorry. No hate to anyone who still trains like that. If that is your thing, that is your thing. But for
That's how
me,
Dennis
I
trains.
changed my philosophy.
Dennis does all cardio, like hours a
And
day.
arms.
Yeah, that's why he's so thin.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, hey, it's okay. Gotta do what works.
All right, so I guess kind of a weird two-part question. So one, outside of actually winning the Olympia last year, which I imagine had to be the highlight of your career, what was either a highlight, I love this question, like one of the most fun memories you have from being a competitor, an event where something funny happened or whatever. And then following up on that, I would say, how are you going to feel on September the 16th when someone else becomes the Bikini Olympia and you transition into a former Miss Olympia? So best moment and kind of a forward-looking statement on what's going to happen in a couple weeks.
Gosh, best moment. Oh, that's hard. I feel like I've had a lot of ups and downs in my whole competitive career, where I've had a lot of highs and I've had a lot of lows, and I've had times where I've been super happy and felt on top of the world, and then times where I've been very discouraged and just like, you know, oh, I don't want to do this, or I can't push anymore. You know, so best moment for me, obviously winning the Olympia was a great, overwhelming, very just remarkable moment for me in my career. After taking time off and coming back, it was that moment where it was like, wow, you know, all the hard work and stuff I've done in the sport finally paid off. But you know, I don't know. I think actually maybe one of the best moments for me, almost just as good or better than the Olympia, was probably turning pro. Because I competed, like, my first national show, there's some girls who will go in and they'll be, like, in that top 5 mix right away. I got, like, third call-outs, like, 15th place, and that same year I still turned pro. But it was just being persistent and having dedication and determination and not giving up. I went and I traveled I went to every single national show until I finally turned pro.
What show did you turn pro?
I turned pro at USA's, and I didn't even win my class, which is funny. I got second, so I was like, whatever, you know. But I think that was probably one of the best moments. It's like, wow, I actually did it. After, you know, a few months earlier, I was just placing like third, fourth call-outs and last in these national shows, and now I turned pro that same year. So that was probably one of my best moments. And then the moment, you know, what you said about going to the Olympia and being like former Miss Olympia now, you know, I think there's things that happen in life, whatever it may be, and sometimes things happen, you know, unexpectedly to teach you something or to open up, or it's just your life wanting to take a different direction. And me this year having all of this go on and having to deal with this and being frustrated and getting upset and down on myself and just honestly not even feeling 100% at all. I've been very, very depressed from this, and you might not see it via social media, but it's been pretty tough on me mentally, physically, and everything. So I think going there, with BPI will be great. I love meeting people at the expos, talking to everyone, getting to interact, and hanging with my, people at BPI. So being there is not going to be an issue. I think seeing myself, on little billboards or the elevator, or not being up on that stage where they, call you out last and they say, you're defending champ, and you get to walk out last on the stage, and it's kind of just like your moment for a second, whether you win or not. Not having those experiences this year, it might be a little hard, but in the end, like I said, everything in life happens for a reason. I feel like things teach you something, whatever it may be. So it might be tough for a minute or two, but I'm happy for every competitor up there this year, and all the men and women look amazing. I've been seeing pictures and videos via social media, so I just want to wish everyone the best of luck up there. Because being on the Olympia, win or lose, it's an honor.
Huge honor. So, well, listen, I'm going to give you a little prediction, and I'm like the eternal optimist in the world, but I predict that you will feel much better the day afterwards because, from what I've heard of your journey, and I tried to school up for our interview here, I would guess that the past 6 months have weighed very heavy on you. You had this big deadline of the Olympia coming. You had to make a huge decision, one of the kind of like life or career defining decisions.
Yeah.
And you made the right decision. You put your health first, and you did what, for a 23-year-old gal, you made a very mature decision. So, I mean, very good move. And now you're,
appreciate that.
yeah, and now you're liberated from that. And you can wake up on Sunday and begin the next chapter and begin it whichever way you want. And from what I understand, from what you've said, it's about looking good, feeling good on the inside and the outside. So as we head into the last question here, what's the move for Miss King in 2017, 2018? How do you take what you've learned this year and move forward in your career? What do you see yourself doing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I feel a lot of people in the fitness industry, okay, as far as competitors go, you preach, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with competing, or you can't be competing healthy or whatever, but there are a lot of people just in the industry in general who preach health and fitness and, being healthy, but really they're dealing with issues or problems or have body dysmorphia, or whatever it may be, so it's actually really not healthy. Like I said to you guys earlier, health starts from within and feeling good and being able to, feel your best all the time. So, and I am very passionate about that. I feel very strongly on that. So I'm actually going back to school starting October for holistic nutrition. So I'm going to go back and just learn different things and just to add to my career already as far as my own online training business. And I've been doing some camps around the country this past year for girls, just bringing women together and doing training camps. And I'm actually going to be moving as well. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting year, and I'm excited to take that next chapter of my life and branch out more that way and just be more about overall health rather than just always about aesthetics and how I look all the time, because that has been my focus for so long. For the past 6-7 years, it's been how I look. And of course I always want to look good. You look good, you feel good, and I believe that. And I still do live a very healthy lifestyle, but I'm just going to kind of take more of the route of truly feeling your best from within and living that healthy lifestyle.
Well, that is awesome. And this was a great interview, and I can't thank you enough for coming here to speak with Whitney and I on The Scoop right after your big announcement. That's huge for us.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. And if you have any other questions, or if you ever want to do a follow-up interview, whatever it may be, I'm here to talk to you guys.
We're gonna do hopefully do a live version of this at the Olympia at the booth. So maybe we can grab you for a couple seconds.
I'm sure I'm gonna get a ton of questions too, and I'm sure I'm gonna have a ton of people come up to me at the booth, and I'm gonna answer the same question about 3,000 times.
Just refer them to our podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give them a link to the podcast.
Because we need the hits. So tell them if they want the answer, they need to log on and watch episode 7 of The Scoop.
All right, I will inform them and bring them to the podcast. But thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the questions and just kind of getting my message out there. And yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, that was pretty impressive. So for all her fans, again, it's booth 1466 at the Olympia. She'll be there in the booth. I don't know the exact hours yet, but most of the day on Friday and Saturday.
I
So
just want to add real quick
awesome.
that my girlfriend India is not competing like we mentioned, and it's for a completely different reason. We're expecting our beautiful baby boy in December.
Woo!
So
Now that's a great reason not to
definitely
compete.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, awesome.
Both of them had stomach issues.
Yeah, that's right. Dennis, I'm going to beat you to the punch. Woo!
It's the fire drill.
Fire drill.
All right, sticking to our basic format, we usually do the fire drill. We talk about a newsworthy athlete, the freak of the week, and we talk about one or two of our Team BPI people. So fire drill.
Fire drill. All right, I'll start with the first question here. Chris, 3 ways to get more protein into my diet.
Okay, real easy. 1, a good quality protein product, whey protein or isolate protein. That's definitely number 1. Number 2, whenever you cook anything, cook extra. And number 3, buy bags of hard-boiled eggs from the supermarket. They're cheap, and
easy.
man, what portability.
That's our go-to on the road.
Are you sponsored by a hard-boiled egg company?
Eggland's best.
Gotta get some.
BPI, better eggs? No, there's nothing in there. Whit, I don't know if you even have an answer to this, but your least favorite thing to train and why?
I do, and it's probably not a very popular answer, but my least favorite thing to train are biceps, and that's because I have severe elbow pain all the time. My old joints hurt.
And then on that note, what are 3 exercises what are 3 exercises people do not need and why?
Well, we actually already did a video on this. Dennis and I did this last year, so if you click the link in the bio, check that video out. Already listed. Chris,
Good answer, yes.
being a...
I'd assume a female asked this.
yeah, that's kind of an odd question. Being a female, all right, if I was to start weight training, would I bulk up and grow big muscles?
I mean, this is like one of my favorite questions, and it's like, yeah, totally. You're going to look just like Lou Ferrigno in about a week, so you better be careful.
Right, yeah.
Do not go heavy. Just proceed with caution. Don't really try.
No, people ask that a lot. I mean, you get a lot of girls that ask.
I mean, even Courtney talked about it.
Yeah,
she thought she had to do cardio for 2 years.
Right, can't train legs because they're going to get huge. I wish that was the problem.
I mean, listen, I've been lifting as hard as I can every day since I was 13 years old. And if this was true, I would be about 400 pounds of solid muscle right now. And as it stands, I can't even break 200 without looking like a slob. So there's really no danger there. Whitney, what are, actually, wait. I'll ask you.
Yeah.
Eccentric, concentric, and static contractions.
All right, the eccentric would be the elongating the muscles. So, like for example, if you're holding a dumbbell and you use your muscle to lower the weight rather than just dropping the dumbbell, that would be eccentric. That would be the eccentric motion. Concentric would be shortening the muscle, which would be pulling the dumbbell up and squeezing your bicep. Static contraction, something that I haven't really done much with, but you see a lot of powerlifters, I guess, do static holds. But if we're just referencing stick with the bicep, if you just hold dumbbells or a barbell in one position and allow the muscle to work in just by holding the weight and causing trauma and growing the muscle. So
my high school lacrosse coach was way into like static holds. He'd have us do all this, like, just press your hands together real hard for like
wall squats.
Yeah, it was like, dude, this is like
you see, and I just want to reference real quick. You see a lot of power lifters just by shortening the range of motion on some exercises. Let's say a bench press, they get into a power rack and they just push off of the top and hold at the top like it's like a 2-inch movement. I don't know what that does, but it must work because those guys are fucking strong, right?
Yeah.
All right, Chris, how come my strength and mass gains have not improved lately?
Dude, I am the wrong guy to ask because my shit hasn't improved in like 20 years. So
can I say I keep getting weaker every year?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is if you are on a plateau, you got to change it up. We talk about this a couple times, saying if your bench doesn't go up, try doing dumbbells, try doing incline first. One thing I learned, I do have an answer. When I was in my 20s, I could usually bench 315 for 1 or 2 or 3 reps, and I would bench that every time I trained chest with the fear that if I didn't hit 315 that week, it would all be over.
Yep.
As I got older, I learned don't do that. You can still go heavy, but change it up. Incline 1 week, decline, flies. I've been doing a lot of flies lately because the strength doesn't go away. It might take you 1 workout to get back to a max lift, but don't be scared of losing it. Just always be chasing it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I used to do the same thing, and I would whatever the weight was, if I didn't hit it that week, oh God, my training's over.
That's it.
I'm
Time to
done.
retire.
But you take a couple weeks off, you come back, it'll come right back. It's no big deal.
All right. Okay, I'm going to keep moving forward here because I don't like this last question. You know those safety squat bars that you can do squats with? So I'm looking at a video here, and this guy has 2, 4, 6, is that 6 or 7? 7 plates on each side of the safety squat bar. And I don't know how many...
Please don't say this is an injury video, because I can't
No,
watch injury videos.
it is J.J. Watt.
Oh, wow.
Pardon that background noise. I got to wait for the Michelob beer ad to load. That's like ridiculous weight.
Yeah, he's insane.
So this guy is a true freak.
He is, and he's actually our freak of the week.
Yeah, so to get topical, we record this a week before it hits the air. So this is...
So he'll be playing this weekend.
Yeah, it'll be... No, he'll be playing next Wednesday. He'll be playing. But this episode will be out next Wednesday.
Yep.
So as we record this, Houston is still gaining water from the flood. The rains have stopped, but the water is still pouring in. J.J. Watt, who was on my list to be a freak of the week anyway, because I know about how hard he trains, and it's also interesting to talk about his personal physique, because he's put together in a certain way that makes him like designed to be an NFL player.
Yeah, he's 6'7", I don't know, 270 or
And I
whatever
remember-
he is, and just super long arms.
The arm reach that he had. I mean, remember the one year he was just swatting passes down? I mean, like, so the guy is like, so he is a freak. But I mean, we talked about last week, someone saved somebody. I mean, this guy has raised.
Smith, yep.
How much has he raised, Dennis?
Dude,
I think it's over 10 now. He
it's
just
up
reached
to
over 10.
$14 million.
Wow.
Now, he started off when he did it's the You Caring Fund. It's under the Houston Flood Relief Fund under You Caring. And his original goal was $200,000. He donated $100,000 of his own money. And I think the next day it was something like Walmart and a couple of other businesses donated several $1 million. And it quickly jumped up to $10 million. So he raised his goal to $15 million, and he's quickly approaching that.
Wow, and actually, he's a fun Google, man. I mean, I'm kind of like looking things up. They got a video of him tricep pressing 315 for $1 million.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys watched HBO NFL Hard Knocks last year with J.J. Watt, I mean, there's another freak at the other end with Jadeveon Clowney.
Oh, yeah, Clowney and Watt, yeah.
So that's the show right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little unknown fact, I mean, football fans will know this, but, Watt actually started off his college career at Central Michigan. It was one of the only schools to give him a scholarship, and he started off as a tight end. And didn't have a great freshman year. I mean, he had, a few catches or whatever it was, but they wanted to convert him to a tackle. He didn't want to play offensive tackle. He knew that he was more of an athlete, like a DN or a tight end. He transferred. He gave up his scholarship at Central Michigan. He became a walk-on at Wisconsin, and then within a year earned a scholarship and became the starting defensive end. And now, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Pro Bowler, and all that good stuff.
Well, just to compliment you, because you picked James Harrison for our first Freak of the Week. Every video on YouTube of J.J. Watt lifting something heavy, the next recommended video is James Harrison lifting something slightly heavier. Right. So that guy, and I mean the one, where he does the hip thrusts, they label him the strongest guy in the NFL.
He's the freak father. He is. He's the godfather of all the freaks in the NFL.
He is the freak father. That's a good term. We're going to coin that.
But J.J. Watt, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time Pro Bowl selection, 2-time sack leader, and $14 million fundraiser for one of the biggest natural disasters in our history. So,
speaking of freaks,
props to him on that.
Speaking of freaks, all right.
Team member. Oh, it's Logan Franklin. So Logan's competing in men's physique at the Olympia, and Whitney and I do tease the men's physique guys a lot, but Logan's huge. He was in here this summer. This kid's muscles are giant. I mean, he trains legs, which, is always kind of the one thing you buzz on these guys about. I mean, I met him for the first time maybe like I met him at the Olympia that 1 year up in, we had a big suite at the Wynn, and he was hanging out a little bit with another friend of ours, Joe.
Joe Donnelly.
Joe Donnelly, who we got to start shouting out on this show
he's
more.
He's going to be a freak of the week.
Speaking of freaks, But Logan wasn't in great shape for that. Like, he wasn't competing, but he was huge, and you're like, wow, this is a big kid. And he's like, I don't know him that well. I mean, we've met, but I don't know where he's from, but he strikes me as like one of these big, what do they call him, like kind of like corn-fed type guys, like
Texas or something like that. Yeah.
Big old boy, lifts some big weights. I know he served in the military, which I always have admiration for people who serve, and he's become a top IFBB pro and a force to be reckoned with in the IFBB.
He's got a great shot at winning the Olympia this year. I know I saw something a couple weeks back between him and the current champion,
Jeremy.
Jeremy, going back and forth talking some shit, which then kind of exciting.
It's
to
fun.
See that.
Bringing it back,
right? But no, this kid is big. He's got an awesome physique. He's got huge biceps.
I'm always jealous of those people.
Yeah, no, I have 0 biceps. All right, so
that's a lie.
All right, so just definitely make sure to look out for Logan at the Olympia. Hope he does well, and he will also be at our booth. Now, moving on to our ambassador of the week. I personally do not know her, but her name is Cara Chomey. I think you can find her on Instagram at CARACHOMEY. Lifestyle transformation coach.
Great content.
Yeah, great content here. She's got a little bit of everything. Creator of the Body Confidence Blueprint. I believe that's her workout plan here. And she does a lot of online training, a lot of nutrition tips here. And give her, definitely look her up.
Yeah, and always great to see, high-profile people out there supporting the BPI brand and getting on board. So we're very grateful for that. I'm going to throw a couple quick product plugs in here and tell you a little bit about myself. So when I get out of shape, I usually weigh about 200 pounds. For me, all the weight goes straight to my ass, and my legs are big to begin with, so it's even more down there. So I've spent the past 2 months saying, I'm going to get back in really good shape, and I've dropped from 200. I was actually 182 this morning, which made me super nervous because I didn't expect to be that light. Wow. And what I do when I drop is I try and get lean, and I do lose a little strength, but then at the end I try and throw creatine back. Creatine's my saving grace. Yeah. So we've just launched a product called Best Creatine Defined. It's available at GNC and Vitamin Shop. It basically has a water management agent and a little bit of a pump enhancement agent, along with an awesome creatine profile. Coming into my diet phase, one of the things we've talked about how much we love amino acids. We launched a sister product to our category-leading #1 selling Best BCA product called Best BCA Shredded, which includes a little bit of weight management component to it. So BCA Shredded was a huge part of the last 6 weeks as I did my extra cardio. I would wake up and do about half an hour on the elliptical at my house, usually while taking 1 to 1.5 scoops of Best BCA Shredded just to get the weight down. And now that I've kind of gotten to a weight where there's still a little bit of meat there, but a little bit can come off, I'm going to start filling it back up with the Best Creatine Defined. And Best BCA Shredded, Best Creatine Defined, the Chris McKenzie Stack of the Week. So run out to a GNC or a Vitamin Shop or online, or come on to bpisports.net, where we are also donating a portion of this week's sales to the Houston Relief Fund. Get on that stack, and if you don't think it works, I've charted some of my progress on my Instagram, BPI_Chris.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. You can follow along there, and you can see that it works. I'm a huge believer in our products, and these two have done me great.
Speaking of videos, what was your last video you put up? It was the shrug video.
We did Deads. I actually was at a great gym, and we should have put it on our list when we did our list.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to say it, Los Compones or something. I was out visiting some stores, and they're up in Minneapolis, and place is like a dungeon. It's like 5 rooms in the basement of dungeons, and a couple IFBB pros work out there. Really great crowd. I mean, you walk in, and I had friends from the last time I was there, so it was really cool. But yeah, we pulled some great deadlifts, triple body weight deadlift for 5 reps, so that was pretty good.
That's like 1,000 for me, so no.
Yeah. What about protein? You got one when you're hot on these days?
Well, Dennis would like for me to talk about Whey HD and Vitamin Shop, which I will discuss. And I can't follow your story. That was an awesome story about getting back in shape. And Chris is shredded right now, by the way. But I actually just started kind of cleaning up my my meal plan this past week as well.
Coming off the broken
Coming off
foot.
the broken foot. This is my second week back in the gym full force. I still haven't done legs yet. Hopefully within the next couple weeks, maybe when I get back from the Olympia, I'll be able to do some legs. I just have to be careful with it. But no, check out Vitamin Shop. They carry all of our flavors, our delicious flavors of Whey HD. Hopefully be adding a new flavor here within the next couple of months. I use Whey HD at least twice a day. I mix it in with my oatmeal in the morning, and I always take it directly after I train, so post-workout. And I also want to mention that CLA carnitine has taken off. At both GNC and Vitamin Shop, but I know that just recently we were sold out everywhere at Vitamin Shop, so be on the look for that.
Taken off so much you can't even get it anymore.
Can't even get
Literally
it all.
sold out of stock.
The shelves are empty, but hopefully by next week it'll be back in stock everywhere, and that's a great non-stimulant weight management product.
Yeah, and I got to say the Whey HD assortment we have at Vitamin Shop, the Snickerdoodle and peanut butter flavors are awesome, and our friend Michael over there, who had the foresight to put them on, Michael Martin, you're a great bro, and we appreciate the opportunity you've given us in the protein space. So with that said,
that's it.
I got a
Finish
formal
it up. You finish.
formal
You want me to
outro.
finish?
It's in blue. Wait, oh, I'm blue.
You're blue.
But he'll
Oh.
take it over today.
I'll take it this time. Thank
Yeah.
you guys for tuning in. Join us every week on iTunes. You can also.
Oh, and we're hitting Spotify.
Oh wow.
Oh,
We're
boom.
actually hitting Spotify.
Someone actually threw that in the comments section. I
Yeah.
can't remember who, but
Nice.
shout out to that guy.
Thank you. You can also find the entire podcast for free on the BPI Sports YouTube channel and bpisports.com. Till next time, remember,
Do not be
be
a
a
pussy.
pussy.